Hello, everyone, and welcome to Big Rodge Talks Hardball. I'm Roger Wilkinson, and today we got a great topic. I hope all of you had a great Thanksgiving. It's time to get back to the grind and get going again, and let's get started today. I want to thank Altamaha River Trading Company today for being part of our show. Those guys down there, Mr. Cricket Mobley, they do a great job. It's got some awesome products. Check them out on Facebook at Altamaha River Trading Company. We have some great camouflage hats from there that are pretty cool to wear when you go out fishing or hunting or just around town. Anyway, let's get started today with a controversial topic, but it's one that I think is needed to understand better the landscape of today's travel baseball. Today I'm going to be talking about why travel baseball has turned into recreation baseball with pretty uniforms. And that's all it's turned into, folks. You can kid yourself about the level of play, but as one of the people that founded this stuff back in the late 90s, I've seen the play dramatically tailspin over the last decade. And here's some reasons why. Okay, so back in the late 90s when several of us around the state of Georgia had gotten into the travel baseball industry, I left from coaching in high school and moving to the travel baseball industry. And what would happen back then, I guess below Atlanta, there was two programs. There was my program at the time, Statesboro A's, and chain baseball out of Savannah. And so the two of us were able to capture all of the exceptional talent pretty much south of Atlanta, or you could say even south of Henry County, I-20 down, and place those guys on one outstanding team. And so what would happen, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, both teams had tremendously good players. Adam Wainwright was probably the star player for the chain at the time. I had the opportunity to coach McKay McBride, who was a first rounder, Jonathan Broxton, a second rounder, Brooks Brown, first rounder. In fact, in 2002, I think we had 12 draft picks. They ended up being draft picks on one team, and just teams chock full of great talent. And so when we would go play these games back then, I remember playing chain 2001 at Georgia Southern University in the AAU state championships, and probably over 1,000 people packed into J.I. Clemick Stadium to watch that game, because the game was full of all of the best players from high school baseball south of Atlanta, and it was just a tremendous opportunity to see the top high school talent play each other. There were probably 20 pro scouts at the game, 20 or 30 colleges, and a bunch of fans. Newspaper coverage, television coverage, the whole 9 yards. We were the up-and-coming program at the time, and we were fortunate enough to win that game that day 11-2, and it sort of catapulted our brand at the time into what it is today. But what I noticed is that all the players on the field that day were exceptional college players. And then the youth travel baseball started, and it started out the same way. Only the best players were playing, and the competition was extremely tough every week. And then something happened. People started having big egos, and they decided, well, I can do it better than this guy, and I can do it better than that guy. My dad can do it better than your dad. And then they started splintering off all these programs. So where we are today, where the talent pool is so watered down that it's almost hard to watch every week when you go to the park, because you've got one or two good players on a team, and the rest of the team are just average or below average players. And that's not what the industry started out to be. It started out to be an arena for the best players to be seen by college coaches and scouts, so that it would make their job easier to recruit. Well, their job's not easier anymore, because their job's muddier than ever, because they're having to weed through all these bad games to find one guy. Or another way they're going about it, well, they're only going to recruit from certain programs, and that's going to be the end of the story. And they're going to go get the best guys, because now you got these nationally acclaimed programs that are going around the world bringing players in and paying their way and giving them gear and all this stuff, and it's turned into a rat race to where, you got kids from California playing on the Georgia team and so forth. And so you got that extreme going on today too. And so what's happened is it's made recruiting a whole lot tougher, and it's made youth baseball a whole lot harder to watch, because what should have happened is the best kids in Savannah, when East Cobb was at their prime and when they were like leading the world in baseball from probably 2000 to about 2007 or 8, what they did, their model was the way to do this. They had the best kids from Metro Atlanta come try out, and they would place them on teams based on their ability. So if a guy had outstanding ability, he would be on the East Cobb Astros 16U. If he had outstanding ability at 17, he was on the East Cobb Braves. If he's on best 18-year-old group, he was on the East Cobb Yankees, and so forth. And then they scaled it down from there. Well, people don't do that today because everybody wants to have the best team, and so they got this good player on this one and this good player on that one, and it's just a mess. And so what's happened is, so these recruiters have gone out and they decided, okay, we're only going to go out and watch teams X, Y, and Z during these big tournaments because we know that they always have good players, and and we only have X amount of time, and so we're only going to recruit from those guys. And so what happens is all these kids on these other teams have been sold a bill of goods by whoever, and that they're going to get recruited. Well, nobody comes to watch them play because they don't have enough good players to warrant coming to see them. All right. And at the youth level, they're not getting the proper instruction, and they're not getting the proper competition. So the good players are playing against the below average players, and so the good players look better than they are until they get thrown in the fire with the really good players. And so what we've done is created a system that's broken because we're not developing players to play at a high level. We're just developing players to play against their friends or against their local competition, and they're not playing the best competition every week. And so they're dominating that level, or the guys that are struggling and they're not playing against kids that they can compete against. So what should have happened and what should happen is, everybody should get on the same page, and they should be the best players from Savannah, per se, on one team. The best players from Augusta on one team. The best players from Macon on one team. And then you would have those teams get together and play, and then you would have some real competition. But the way the system is today, it's just getting worse and worse and watered down and more watered down, because the egos get in the way and nobody wants to cooperate, so they go out and they all have one or two good players. Or you have a national team that goes out around America to find 20 good players. They have to go coast to coast to get 20 good players because they haven't established an identity in a local market to be able to develop talent. So it just becomes a recruiting war. They're not teaching baseball. It's just I can out recruit you because I have a bigger budget. I can get in my plane and fly all over the country and recruit players. So baseball's not being taught the way it should be, and the players aren't being developed. And what you're seeing is the college game is not as good across the board. Our state had less draft picks in Division I college baseball and Division II college baseball last year than ever. This year could be just as bad. And so what's going to happen is you're going to see a deterioration of the game start taking place because the competition is so weak across the board, because there's so many brands out there and there's so many teams that it's just so watered down that the best don't play the best. So that's some food for thought. So you need to understand when you're picking a team or playing on a team or getting in a program, you need to understand to match your kid's abilities up at a level where he can play. If he's a below average player, he needs to play with some below average guys until his skill sets get good enough to compete at the next step. So he needs to work, train, and get better so that things will work out for him. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's podcast. I look forward to bringing you more podcasts soon. We'll see you again tomorrow. And once again, thanks for joining us on Big Rodge Talks Hardball. Today, why travel baseball looks like rec ball with pretty uniforms. You have a great day.